Welcome to the Non-Essential Podcast. I'm Steve Gibson.
And I'm fucking sick again, so welcome back. It sucks.
So that makes you like patient 0 and patient like 38,000.
Yeah, it came back, whatever it was. Now, this isn't nearly as bad as the last thing I had that put me out of action. This is just a fucking annoying chest cold, and it was just like a long week at work where everybody was sick and everybody was getting everybody else sick, and this showed up right on time for my days off.
That's what happens to me. I almost never get sick, and I say that like as I got older, knock on wood, I didn't get sick last year, but then there was a couple of years there where I'd get like the flu, but like not the not like what you had, like where you're just sick for a couple days and then I'll have like a lingering cough for the rest of my life because every time I get sick, that never goes away.
A memento.
Right. But now I forget where I was going with it. It's been a while since I've been sick, so.
But yeah, that's the thing. Like, I would rather get sick on my days off than like have to call out because I'm just fucked. Like, for as like anti-corporation as I am and shit, like I'm very much like I'm not gonna make other people do my job unless I have no choice.
And that's one of the big conversations right now because people are talking about, and I don't know how it is with your job and the whole because a lot of people they're like, oh well, if you get sick, just make sure you go to the doctor and don't go into work so you don't get other people sick. And it's like, well. Problem is, a lot of jobs, if you call off, they'll let you, but you don't get paid.
Yeah.
And if you go to the doctor, that's an expense. So you're asking people to take on an extra expense and get a smaller paycheck. And a lot of people just can't do that.
You do get sick pay where I work, like you accrue it. But, it's like.
Does it count if you're just sick of your job? Be like.
Yeah. Well, fucking people go home early all the time and. Like, be like, oh, I have a headache, use sick pay, and that's, that's your choice. But when you are really sick and you don't have it, that can be really fucked up. And that's something that, like, I was talking about with someone the other day about the coronavirus or whatever. It's like, if you get it, you're out for weeks. And it's like, how many people can afford that shit? And it was what was frustrating me online today because I'm on Twitter way too much.
I know. I don't know why either of us are on that. You just get mad, and I just post stupid shit that. Like,
I post stupid shit, but then I get mad, and like, and the stupid shit doesn't help. But I just got a notification from Twitter today that like, hey, you've been on here for 13 years today, and I'm like, fuck, something went wrong. Because it's not even like I blew up on Twitter and like I'm like popular on there. I'm still a nobody. But it's like I fucking keep if I don't post these crazy crab pictures, who will? And,
in fairness, I would have no idea the existence of Crazy Crab without your Twitter account. So
and more people need to know about the scourge. But, it's what was frustrating me today about, like, the coronavirus talk. Like, well, the vaccine should be affordable. It's like, it's a pandemic. It should be free. Like, what are you talking about? Like, how are you, like, going to slap a fucking price tag on that bottle? Like, you have to stop it from spreading, you fucks.
That's what... I think that's what a lot of people don't understand about vaccinations. And we could do a whole... show if we were at an actual serious podcast about like the whole like vaccination thing and the anti-vax movement and that kind of crap. But the only way vaccinations were, I think a lot of us view it as, well, I'll get this vaccination, then I can't get sick. It's like, well, that doesn't really guarantee you can't get sick, but it helps.
Yeah.
But the only way they work is when basically everybody gets them.
Because then, like, if the virus...
It cuts off the path of the virus, right.
Right, if the virus, can still bounce around or whatever, that's how you get fucking virus and, like, bacteria evolving, And then it's like, the vaccine doesn't fucking work anymore. Because you assholes let it, like, fucking have a Karate Kid montage inside people's body, and it got better.
it's something that I've probably got, because I say that I've always been pro-vaccinations, but then I never would get a flu shot.
I wouldn't until what had happened, a month ago. Like after that, I'm getting a flu shot every fucking year.
Well, and like I said, the other thing is I still have that, well, I never get sick, which isn't true. I do, but just not often. But what really puts it in perspective, too, for that stuff is it's not really even about you. It's about the people that can't get the vaccinations, the people with compromised immune systems or older people, or what really put it in perspective for me, having a freaking newborn that everybody wants to touch and nobody wants to get vaccinations, but she's... Yeah, doesn't have a developed immune system yet, and she can't get vaccinations yet.
See, that's that's what's scary. Like, I'm not really worried about coronavirus because I'm fucking 28, and from all accounts I've heard about it, it's like a really fucking bad for someone regular in my age.
Flu,
like a really bad respiratory cold, and it's okay, but I know I can survive that, because when you're my age, you can just pound back water and vitamin C and shit, and eventually your body will fight it off. But
right, the people our age that tend to have the problem, and it still can be scary because some of it you can't know, but maybe you have a heart condition or something you didn't know about, something that compounds it, or you do what I would almost 100% do if I got it. You ignore it for too long, and then
could be what I'm doing right now.
But it's terrifying because I don't want my 7-month-old to get it and maybe not be able to fight it off. And even if she can, I don't want to be in the ICU for 2 months, with a...
Right. You don't want, your parents to get it because, they're older and shit. And
well, it depends on the day. Sometimes
you want to. Yeah. Sometimes you want to learn them a thing.
You hide their hat and coat and tell them to go walk around outside for a little bit. But
sometimes you're... Dad is an insufferable billionaire oil tycoon, and if he's out of the picture, you get the fortune. But for most of us, we don't want our parents to get the fucking coronavirus.
And really, even strangers, as much as we talk about hating other people, I really don't want society to collapse in a pandemic of... Right.
Yeah, preferably because I have to ride the bus with those people. And back to our original point, if that virus is evolving, I might get it again.
Right.
Anywho, that's your health awareness update from the Non-Essential Podcast. Everything's bad, and they're trying to charge you for something that should be free, which will be the same health update we give you anytime we give you a health update. Anyway.
Well, and that's the thing, too, is it's sad there where they're like, oh, it should be affordable. It's like, well, it should be free, but you also shouldn't have to say it should be affordable. Like, coming out and being like, now don't price gouge people.
Right. Well, I mean, it's what pissed me off about, Pelosi being like, well, the taxpayers are going to be the one, paying for this anyway to get developed. And it's like, if we're doing that, then we shouldn't fucking have to pay a fucking price tag on top of it. This is what taxes are about, is preventing shit like that and keeping society going when there's something that threatens the health of that society. Anyway, if you want more rambling fucking angry bullshit like that, I have a Twitter account. We have a show to do today that's not about that. One of my kind of go-tos, one of my favorite things to bring up on this show in the 80 episodes we've been doing it is Japanese monsters. And I like doing monsters from all over the world, but there hasn't really been a country that's had the rich history of just bizarre creatures from various stories and beliefs
they have
like they do.
So many, and they're so specific, but so specifically weird.
They're very bizarre. We have a couple that are really specific today. Sometimes they have just these bizarre morals that could only come from the biggest bullshitter in history.
I like the one I can think of off the top of my head was it was like a ghost or monster, but it was like an old lady with giant breasts, and if kids misbehave, she'd suffocate them in it or something.
Yeah, and that's let that be a lesson.
Oh, they were on her back too, weren't they? They weren't. Yeah.
It's about motorboating, and don't motorboat before marriage.
Motorbosaki was the
name. So we got a few more of those today. Starting with the Naribo Toke, or Naribo Toke, sorry, which supposedly means coated Buddha. Oh, and by the way, I get most of these from a website called Yokai.com. Guy writes a bunch of books and a lot of these descriptions about these things. They are just as obsessed with this shit as I am.
Fantastic illustrations too.
Yeah, like look these up, and we'll link them in the show description. But check them out just for the drawings. Like, they're fantastic. So for these guys, like many Japanese homes will have these large wooden shrines called a butsudan in them. It's like a big cabinet full of like spiritual items. It has like scrolls, mantras, statues, and that kind of shit. During the day, these cabinets are left open, and in fact, on holidays, people almost treat them as members of the family, offering them sake and food and stuff like that. Which, I mean, I've probably been that drunk before, where I thought a piece of furniture was a long-lost relative. So
I was just thinking, like, can I apply for that position? Just like,
yeah.
I'll sit in a Japanese household and let you offer sake and stuff to me.
So, it's open during the day, but at sunset, the doors are supposed to get closed because it's said that the Butsudan can act as a portal for dark spirits to return from the land of the dead. The Naribo Toke is one of those spirits. It's a oily skinned zombie with a nauseating odor, a catfish tail, and eyes dangling from the sockets.
Kind of just sounds like a gamer.
Yeah, I related to it. Reading it. It's like, oh, he just played a lot of Souls games and he's crawling out of his hutch.
Right.
This corpse crawls out of the Butsudan and kind of just flies around just scaring people, but doesn't seem like it actually attacks you. They just kind of dance around looking scary, and sometimes will try to trick the more foolish of us with false prophecies. So maybe at worst you like lose a week of your life being afraid of dogs or some shit based off what these fuckers tell you. But that's about as far as their damage goes,
I don't know. I could see that really killing your sex life if you're a married couple. Like, trying to get into the mood, and all of a sudden this oily skinned zombie's flying around saying,
cheering you on. Just fucking slaps you on the ass. So you can keep them at bay just by sprinkling salt on the floor, because they're like part snails or something, because they don't like salt, and they'll just stay there, and then they'll go back to the Butsudan before sunrise. But yeah, so like the message there is keep that door shut at night, or you'll open a portal to annoying inconveniences.
And false prophecies.
Right, maybe.
Damn it, those weren't the winning lottery numbers. You tricked me again.
If they're filling up, they might give you a false prophecy. Otherwise, they'll just kind of dance around like jackasses.
It is interesting how many spirits and creatures and whatnot through, like, all cultures, like, their weakness is salt.
Yeah. Like a lot of these things, like, they don't really do anything, but they're always just sort of, it is something that simple. Like, well, just throw salt at them and they'll go away,
I'm going to start carrying salt around, just like, not even in packets, just fistfuls of salt in my pocket. So if you meet a suspicious stranger, you throw salt at them and see.
The last couple of weeks where I've been cooking more, tells me I should keep salt on me all the time, because you never know when you're going to have to make something delicious.
That would be a hilarious cooking show. Like, you're doing a YouTube video and you're like, okay, now saute the onions, now a little salt, and you just reach into your pocket like your jeans.
Just like a fucking magic trick. Just you've been palming a pack of salt the whole time. Next up, we have the Kamikiri, the hair cutter. So these are small little bastards with scissor-like beaks and razor-clawed hands. They sneak in through your window at night to cut off your hair, or they'll just hide under roof tiles waiting for prey to pass by. Anyone with hair is a perfect target, and they'll usually try to get the jump on people in urban areas that are out of the way. like alleys or bathrooms, when they're not just flat out breaking into your house while you're asleep. These type of monsters are like the exact type of BS story I'd make up when I was younger about fucking with somebody's hair while they were asleep. I'd be like, nah, dude, Kami Kiri, totally got you.
Yeah.
It's such a vicious hair attack that the victim doesn't even notice it happened until later when they run into a friend or family who point it out, or when they just notice a big clump of hair fall off of them.
So it's like every sitcom ever where something happens to somebody's hair in the shower or in the morning, but they don't know it until they walk downstairs and the family goes, oh my gosh.
Right. It's, because on television, you don't have mirrors. You just have more televisions. So I know it seems silly, but when you consider the fashion of Japan in those days, particularly with high-class citizenry, a spirit who would cut their long hair off was probably a terrifying idea. It would be like...
I know, I thought it was supposed to be like insulting to your family. Like it very much was like a revered thing.
Yeah. Like, well, I mean,
don't
it
know
would
the
be...
specifics.
It would be like
I'm obviously not a cultural genius, but...
Well, I mean, it would be like if a spirit like went around cutting off people's like frosted tips in 1999. Like, Sugar Ray concerts would never have worked if we didn't, it would have ruined everything. So
that cost me $160.
So sometimes these attacks are a sign that the victim is actually about to unknowingly marry a ghost or yokai. So it's actually a noble move on the part of these critters as they interfere, hoping to make you so ugly that the wedding will be called off.
Fortunately, ghosts and yokai are shallow.
Yeah. I mean, I love that this is the option when they could just, tell you, like, hey, that's a demon.
I love the idea that somebody would completely call off a marriage because of a bad haircut instead of just being like, well...
It might not.
Let's wait till it grows back out. Yeah.
Nope, it's too late. Next up, we got the Notorabo, which means wild temple priest. These were once priests who committed some kind of sin and died with dishonor. Often they fell victim to vices like sex and money. And then they were made outcasts to their town. Yeah, fucking money. A big pile of money.
That's why I think old Japanese coins are one of the... I know a lot of places are like the currencies with the hole.
But they have the hole.
Yeah.
That's... I hope that's...
I might be overthinking this. But,
I hope that was the thought process behind it. Print the coins so that I may stick something in it. Like, well, how big's the hole need to be? Don't just make
Don't worry about it.
Do a variety. They'd flee to abandoned temples in rural areas. Why is that the hardest word in the world to read? And become these ugly, depressed ghosts that would just sort of run around in tattered rags. So basically a very common enemy in like something like Neo or something.
Yeah, they're just the... Yeah.
So one story about these ghosts is that in a place called Nodira, a prankster decided to steal a large bronze bell from the temple. He was spotted by the townspeople and threw the bell into a pond while he tried to make his escape. So this was just a stupid prank, horribly executed. But the bell got stuck in a pond, which came to be known as Kane Gaike. And my dogs don't like that.
No, they're like, fuck, bells don't belong in ponds. They belong in the church or the temple.
It belongs in a museum. So later, a lazy monk boy who decided to put off doing work for the high priest of the temple chose to spend his day playing with other children. When it came time to face the priest for not doing his work, he threw himself into the pond out of shame and drowned. If you're an idiot.
It seems like an overreaction, yeah.
If you believe the official story. Clearly, he was murdered by the high priest, who was running something far more nefarious than a fucking temple. And the boy fucked up something up in that drug operation that meant, like, the high priest he had to send a message, to the rest of the operation.
Breaking Buddha. I'd watch it.
Yeah, I probably have been watching too much Narcos, but that's what I choose to believe. So either way, the boy drowned, and since then, villagers claim to hear the sound of crying echoing off the bronze bell, and the boy's spirit wanders the pond as a Notarabo.
That seems pretty harsh, because it said it's somebody from the like priesthood that died, that was like dishonored and died. But like, if the threshold for that is simply not doing your chores once,
right?
Like, yeah.
Yeah, and like that's the thing. Like you read the beginning of this, and it's like, oh man, they must have become really corrupt pieces of shit in society or something. And like, this is a kid who just wanted to play instead of like fucking,
he forgot to shut the doors on that, whatever you called it in the first one. That's what it was.
Yeah. So that's a clear story to be like, do your chores, or you'll want to suddenly kill yourself with guilt.
I was gonna say, if you don't do your chores, just don't kill yourself. Like that's the other option.
Right. Next up, we got the Kanbari Nyudo. This is a perverted ghost that lurks outside bathrooms on New Year's Eve, and apparently only on New Year's Eve. It dresses like a priest and is covered in thick hairs. It also has a cuckoo that blows out of its mouth. So I think this is just, the message here is pretty clear, is that there are a lot of fucking perverted fucks out partying on New Year's Eve. Or it's this ghost. And
it's a description of a regular like bathroom pervert that you'd get from a really, really drunk person, which is why it only happens on New Year's Eve.
Right. As far as what it actually does, it mostly just tries to catch glimpses of people on the toilet. In recent stories, the Kanbari will try to touch and lick the people on the toilet, which is probably, horrifying. Either way, seeing the Kanbari signifies bad luck for the coming year, which is probably how everyone feels if they get walked in on when they're taking a shit.
Especially licked, yeah.
Like, not only is
starting
today
the year
bad,
off on the wrong foot,
but nothing's gonna go right ever again.
Well, for at least the next year, you won't ever be able to take a dump without like being afraid somebody's gonna come in and lick you.
Right.
Like, that's supposed to be me time in there. I don't want to spend it worrying about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to know that I'm a part of society in that moment. Like, I don't want to know that there are other humans. Ideally, I would be in a satellite to take a shit every time I needed to go.
Especially one that can let you strategically drop it back down to Earth.
Oh, wouldn't that be sweet? If you could, like, target where the flesh goes. Just fucking... like, DC would not be recognizable right now. So,
I don't know. I think it would look
it's actually...
yeah.
Does it smell better here? So sometimes it even inflicts constipation upon those who see it, which makes this yokai probably the most dangerous yokai we've discussed ever on this show. Because constipation's not a joke. So people are...
No, we'll joke about a lot of things, but not
I mean, we will joke about that, but it's not funny when you have it. And if you do have it, let us know. We'll tweet your charity to get you flowing again. So people aren't entirely sure where the name comes from, but some believe it comes from the Chinese god of the toilet, Kakuto, which uses similar characters for the Japanese word cuckoo, which would be fine, except Kakuto wasn't a Chinese toilet god. That's not a thing. He's a 15th century Ming general, so theories are fun. We can just...
Did he have, like, irritable bowel syndrome or something, though?
Yeah, it's a fucking good question. Like, that's the thing. Like, imagine your name just gets decided, like, you're going to be the god of toilets.
Yeah.
Which, for me, I would be like, that makes sense. They read my tweets. But, like... For someone who's like a fucking noble general, and they're like, well, what if you're the shit god? But the cuckoo does trace back to China, who considered it bad luck to hear a cuckoo call on the toilet, and that if you did hear one, you had to bark like a dog to counter the curse. Which is like, yeah, that's why I bark on the toilet, to ward off curses.
I would just be walking around near where toilets are just making sounds of a cuckoo just to make people bark.
So, yeah. The Kasha is a large bipedal cat monster about the size of a human, covered in hellish flames or lightning. They usually show up on stormy nights. They live among humans disguised as ordinary house cats or strays, but reveal their true forms during funeral services when they will leap down from rooftops to snatch corpses out of their coffins. These cats are often seen as messengers or servants from hell, collecting these corpses of wicked humans to carry them off for punishment, or they merely take the corpses for their own uses, like to eat them or, I guess, animate them as puppets.
Scratching posts.
They get really bored. If a Kasha takes a person's remains, it's almost impossible to retrieve them, so they say temples devised various unique ways to defend against Kasha.
Like barking like dogs.
Barking like dogs. Going to the toilet. One means is to hold two ceremonies. First, a fake one with a casket filled with rocks, and then do the real one after the dipshit cat runs off with the sack of rocks. Another idea is to just put a shaving razor on top of the coffin, because if a flaming cat from hell nicks himself, he'll probably back off, I guess. In Miyazaki, the priest will just chant, "Don't be eaten by a Kasha," twice in front of the procession, and they say that works. In Okayama...
So really the problem is not the Kasha, it's the corpse. The corpse was like, oh, not get eaten. Okay, gotcha.
Oh, I fucked up. Sorry.
Sorry, yeah.
God damn it. I knew I would confuse it. They only chanted it once. In Okayama, they'll play a miyachi, which is a symbol used in religious ceremonies to keep it away. For some reason, this legend gets tied to a superstition where people believe that to like prevent Kasha and prevent your cat from learning magic, you have to cut off your cat's tail, which might be the dumbest sentence I've ever typed for this show. It's like, like the connection there, okay. Next up,
well, I guess I get it. If you've ever owned a cat, like you'll walk into a room and they'll be like sitting on top of a door, and you're like, "How the fuck did you do that? You must be magic." But if you cut your cat's tail off, it probably hinders its ability to balance on stuff like that. So,
I can tell you don't have you can tell you don't have a household with a cat in it, because I can tell you these fuckers lose their balance all the time. There's nothing magical about cats. Like, and when they fall, they fucking, like, I pushed my cat off. She loves to like get up right on my desk and like into my shit in front of my keyboard and stuff. And if I'm in the middle of something, I push her off, and normally she just hops off and lands. And the other day, like, I pushed her off and she fucking hit everything on the way down, like a fucking action movie where you like fall off a rooftop and just like bang, clang, dunk.
It's Alan Rickman from Die Hard.
It was like, it was like the end of John Wick 3, if anyone's seen that. It was really brutal, and I was worried that like she might be toast. But the cats, like I said, there's nothing magical about them except like they have an ungodly amount of pride. So she crawled under the bed and just like hid for a while.
Yeah.
Lastly, we got the Hinagami, the doll spirits. Now, I thought these were pretty interesting, just for how much... Well, we'll get to it. The Hinagami are spirits that reside in dolls that have the power to grant their owners any wish they desire. Families in possession of the Hinagami get rich and powerful, but it happens so quickly that basically everybody knows they fucking cheated. But most rich and powerful people cheat, just not with a doll.
Well,
as far as we know. Otherwise, we have a fucking problem. We need to destroy these dolls. The catch is, the Hinagami will immediately demand a new request as soon as a wish is granted. Their existence is based off human greed and desire, and so they constantly need new wishes to fulfill. They cling to their owners obsessively, never leaving their side. Even death won't get these fuckers away, as the Hinagami will follow their owner's spirit to hell just to bug them. So like, which I think the way around that, you'd just be like, oh, I need a refill, but pour it really slowly. That way it tastes better. Like
yeah, I mean, or I could wish for good stuff constantly, and then as it's following you to hell, be like, I wish to not be in hell. Send me to heaven or something like that. And then the thing would be like, fuck, I can't follow you there.
Yeah.
And then you win.
Right. And then I win, and then I beat
Like, I mean, how bad could hell really be if you still have a doll that grants your every wish?
Well, I mean, I feel like the torment of hell would override the, like,
But
pleasure.
I mean, I imagine one of your wishes would be to not be tormented.
Yeah, but then hell will, like, override that and be like, well, you're in hell, you don't get to get out of it. Yeah. Your hell is that you're going to have a Hinagami here who can't actually get you out of this
Maybe
shit.
That's what happens. To say, yeah, they take the Hinagami's power away, but it still sits here. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want next? What do you want? What do you want? I'll get it for you. But it can't act, yeah.
Yeah. And I imagine by, like, year 5, having just that doll by you, just being like, what next? What next? And be like, fuck off, dude. How about you make a friend for yourself? So,
I don't know. I've met people out there that probably would not be fazed by it. They would just have conversations like it's normal. Like
I probably would too, because I need more friends. So, how these dolls are made is a very interesting thing. These dolls are made from a process where a person collects grave earth that has been trampled on during the day. You have to do this every night for 3 years, and if you want a really good all-powerful wish-granting ghost, you should take the earth from 7 different graveyards in 7 different villages. Once collected, the grave earth is mixed with human blood until it becomes a clay-like substance. It's molded into a doll shape representing whatever spirit you worship, and then you place that doll by a busy road until it has been trampled on by 1,000 people. When you retrieve the doll, it will be a Hinagami. This sounds like so much more fucking work than just going out into the world and becoming successful.
I was about to say, because you were talking about people like, oh, they got rich and they know they cheated. And it's like, no, that sounds like they earned every fucking penny.
Yeah. So there's another way to make them. This method is to collect graveyard stones and carve them into 1,000 small dolls and boil them in a large pot until one of them rises to the surface. The doll that rises will contain the souls of all the other dolls, and this creates a special type of Hinagami called a Kochobo. But as far as I know, they function the same way, pretty much.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
what
more,
you doing over there? Just making soup?
Yeah,
stone soup.
Just imagining some asshole boiling rocks is just like.
Well, it's probably a homeless guy, and then one of the and he was carving it to the shape of the rich, like that he, the whole eat the rich thing, and then one day one came alive, and he's like, "Holy shit! Finally, it's my time."
Finally, I'm gonna make a new best friend.
My buddy.
That's the thing. They're basically Ermac from Mortal Kombat. Like, we are here to grant you wishes. It's like, but it's in this cute little stone doll. It'd probably be a good movie.
I might have to try that one. I don't know. Does it have to be when they say gravestone? Do they just mean a rock from a graveyard or like a headstone? Because I'm not gonna go defile headstones.
It has to be from a headstone, I think, because you got to get the souls of all those people in the pot.
Well,
you can't just be taking
that might be
rocks
one
and
step
shit.
too far for me. Otherwise, I'd go steal 1,000 rocks and hook them up.
Otherwise, I'll see you in 3 years, bitches. But yeah, it's more fun from Japan. Thank you for Japan for keeping the show afloat so many times when I didn't have the energy to find a real topic. Yeah, that's all. I guess we're done.
Strong finish, Ben. Strong finish.
I'm a pro.